Hey, everybody, welcome to the Jim Masters Show, Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show Series. I'm your host, Jim Masters, reporting for duty here in the host chair to entertain and have a good time with all of you. Thanks for tuning in and watching this episode and all the episodes you enjoy. We're here in the New York area in the United States. And boy, do we have another fabulous guest that we are celebrating. She's got some new music out too. She's part of a legendary musical family of artists and entertainers. Matter of fact, her dad was a very special, celebrated guest on our show just a few weeks ago. Her dad, of course, being Pat Boone. If you did not see the episode when Pat Boone, the incomparable Pat Boone, was with us, check that episode out. It's archived for your pleasure on the YouTube channel. We have Lindy Boone joining us here, and she is a very talented individual as well, a spectacular singer and performer, entertainer, songwriter. She also is a personal trainer as well. She's very involved in the fitness world as well. We'll talk about that. She and the family also have a very special charity that we're going to celebrate, and she has new music. Yes, this is something very, very special. It really was a family affair titled Wordlayer. And as you see on the screen, Lindy right there, front and center at the microphone. But look at everybody else that's a part of this. All of her sisters are a part of it as well. And Pat was also involved in this, which I think is so special and so wonderful. There's Pat right there, front and center. You can see all the sisters, Debby and everybody there, and just a beautiful thing to put this together. And we're going to celebrate Lindy and the family and all of you, our viewers, as we welcome Lindy to our show. When did you start singing and performing? When did that become, because you do so many other things, when early on for you did that become a part of your life? I know, of course, you toured with the family as part of the Boone family early on as a family unit, which was such a beautiful thing. Were those the moments that really inspired you to want to do this?
Well, we grew up learning to sing. We sang in church, just at a kind of church that didn't use instrumental music, and everybody learned how to harmonize as part of the church service, singing from the hymnals. So we started hearing harmonies. Our mom taught us how to hear harmonies. She was the one who gave us instruction on how to sing together. Our dad had a beautiful voice. My mom always sang with her sisters and in groups, and she loved tight harmonies. And so she started teaching us how to do that together when we were really young. And then the way we started singing in front of other people, other than at parties, my dad was going to Japan to tour, and the Osmond brothers and Osmond family was the opening act. So even Marie and little Jimmy, they were in that show, and we were all very young, just becoming teenagers. And so my dad thought, it's a family show. Maybe the girls could do a couple songs on stage. And we learned a couple songs and then had a big finale with the Osmond family. And we got to tour with them. It was a couple weeks long and became very good friends. We were all the girls and all the boys. They all dressed alike. We all dressed alike. It was really something for the Japanese people to see us traveling on the bullet train. And but it formed a deep friendship that we still stay in touch. Not a lot, but we've been in touch. And so we started singing as a family, really, because my dad wanted to kind of have us go to Japan with him. Mm-hmm. But it went so well that he thought, well, gee, maybe the American audiences will like this too. And it was a way for him to have more contact with us as we were becoming teenagers, because he was still traveling a lot. His career demanded it. And that way we didn't go with him on everything, but certainly through the summer we traveled together. And even during the school year, we would be pulled out of school, take our books. And as long as we could keep our grades up, we were able to be in the shows and see a lot of the country and a lot of the world.
Which is so beautiful to do that as a family unit. When did you realize who your dad was, because for you, your dad is your dad. He's your father,
Yeah.
and there's that relationship. But then you turn on TV, you turn on the radio, you look at the papers, and it's Pat Boone. When did you realize that your dad was somebody of note?
I think from my earliest memory, we had a life that if we went out in public, it was just normal for people to come up and say, "Oh, I just have to say I'm a big fan of yours," and ask for an autograph. So I never knew him in any other way. If we went out in public, he was known. I thought it was really odd when I started to realize that that's not the case anymore, just that everybody knows him. People of a certain age definitely do. But when I was growing up as a kid, it was just the way it was every time. So I don't have a memory of a dad that was more anonymous. But I liked it. There wasn't anything that wasn't good about it. He was always kind, and people seemed to get a big kick out of meeting him, and it made us feel like that was cool. People know who our dad is.
Exactly right. And
Mhm.
all of you are so talented. It's a very talented family, and your sisters, and I think it's just really such a beautiful thing. And to come together um, again and sort of bring everything together full circle, and with your dad. What was that like to have all of you together and to prepare this incredible music with your dad there, with your sisters, the crew? Um, there's so much depth to it all, and it carries through in the music itself. But for you being there, on the ground floor, it must have been something very, very special.
It was. The recording session happened just back in November. The song was the motivation for the recording session, and I had gotten to write a song really back in 2020. And it turned out, shall I go back to the beginning of why I wrote a song? Um, my daughter gave me a gift for Mother's Day, and this was during COVID lockdown. And she said, "Mom, I can't go shopping in the malls right now, but I found out that Airbnb is selling experiences. And I've bought an experience for you. And it is to write a song with a Nashville musician."
Mm.
And I thought, what a creative gift. Wow. And I looked forward to it, but I also thought, I've never written a song in my life. How am I going to contribute to this song? So as it got closer, I really got quiet and prayed a little bit and just waited to be inspired. And I remembered a username that I had made up years ago, and it's Wordlayer. And I made up that as just something that I could use in private on Twitter. And but it had meaning for me. And what I had learned through loss and grief was to use my words like bricklayers lay brick, to speak intentionally and to envision where your path is going to lead you. So laying your words down intentionally was a concept that I had. And I thought that makes for an interesting title. And then I thought I better write out some words so that this songwriter will have something to work with. And they came out as finished chorus and verse and another verse. And I brought that to the Zoom call with Ann Buckle, this lovely young musician, singer, songwriter who writes songs all the time. And she said, "Lindy, I don't want to change your words, but let's work on a melody." And she wrote the melody over the Zoom call. And what turned out was this really meaningful, precious song. And I would just play it for people over the last several years, just in private, out of my computer. She recorded it in Nashville, playing all the instruments and singing it and harmonizing with herself. So I had something I could share. And it always would get a profound response from people. So we ended up eventually, my dad's record company executive, Dana McElwain, heard it last January. I played it for my dad and for him. And he said, Lindy, what are you doing with that song? And I said, I'm playing it now and then for people. And he loved it. And he said, I would love for us to record that. It took me a while to warm up to the idea of it being my voice. I thought, well, certainly we should find somebody to record it. And eventually, the suggestion of me singing it with my sisters really resonated. And we were able to find time to do it. And we hadn't recorded together. We got one chance 18 years ago on one of Debby's albums where we recorded. And before that, we had done a lot of recording as sisters in our teens and early 20s. But to come together now at this time in our lives for a song that really held a lot of meaning to all of us, it was so precious, it's hard to put into words.
Absolutely. And it honors, of course, your son and his life. And I know that during sort of the heat of the moment, the family came together and decided to take action. And they went on the talk shows, Larry King and CNN and NBC, sharing your faith and asking millions of television viewers to pray as well for Corbin. And that was sort of the beginning of the roller coaster of it all, right? In the journey through the suffering that wasn't necessarily known before, right?
Right. No,
celebrating Ryan. Yeah.
I'd had a very charmed life up until June 19th, 2001. And that's a day that is like the dividing point between my life before and my life after. Because my eldest son, Ryan, stepped on a skylight on that day, trying to just step over it. And it was on the roof of his apartment building. And since his foot came down on it, that skylight didn't bear his weight and it broke. He fell through it, and it was a 3-story building. So from the roof down to the bottom concrete, he was very nearly killed in that fall, but paramedics came right away. They did all the heroic life-saving interventions. And we started on a path that has been long and difficult. And like you say, a roller coaster where you get good news and then you get bad news and then you get good news and then you get bad news. And it was a very long time of a coma, 4-month coma. And then at that point, he didn't wake up. He was just considered out of a coma because his eyes could track from side to side. So we marked these milestones of his recovery to where he finally regained facial expression. At about 10 months, we saw a smile. 15 months, I heard his voice for the first time. Almost 2 years to get rid of a feeding tube. And he didn't initiate speech till almost 3 years. He could answer with short words, phrases, but he started to speak and initiate a conversation. And now he's very, very verbal. But this was painfully slow. And during these times, there were highs and lows, emergencies, other emergencies that would happen until we got our footing. And so when I say Wordlayer, I mean, I had to really learn how to live in the present moment and take it one day at a time and rejoice in the things I could rejoice in, and then just speak words of faith, speak words of healing, words of life, words of voice, appetite, all the things I wanted to see come back. And we live in this world of brain injury. Ryan has caregivers. He's provided for beautifully. So we have caregivers and all the therapy that we can fit into a day and a week and a month. And he speaks and he laughs and he remembers his prior life, his short-term memory, not so much. So for him, he's always in the present tense. He doesn't have the reference point of loss. So I think that's kind of a blessing. And I tried to imitate him and live in my present moment And if he's not sad, I'm not sad.
Which is absolutely beautiful. And you kept a journal through the first year and a half and were able to document enough to write a book titled Heaven Hears, right?
That's right. Yes. I felt like I should write in a journal, and the journal was really to process and be very cathartic for me because I'd never felt such intensity in my life. And it was a lot of it was just full of pain, and I needed to get it out of my body and onto paper. And so I would write, but I wrote the good, the bad, the confusing, the questions, the gratitudes. I just wrote so that I could process. And then I also wanted to remember. I think it's really important if you're going through something that's super challenging, write so that you not only remember what happens, but write what you learn. And it marks those lessons, those epiphanies. So I thought after a while, I only journaled for a year and a half, and then life got just so busy with Ryan and with therapies and everything. But that journal helped me to remember so I could write for other people just stepping out on this journey. And it doesn't have to be brain injury, it's any event in your life that just knocks the wind out of you. And I just wanted to remember and pass along things that I learned.
Which is amazing. You say that one of the lessons through the journey was the idea that, how you speak really matters to the trajectory on the next phase of your life. And you learned a great deal about traumatic brain injury and come to this new understanding of the faithfulness of God and the power of our words during times of deepest needs. And as a result of all of this, the family established the nonprofit in Ryan's name called Ryan's Reach to help survivors of brain injury and their families. And that is so beautiful because they've been providing funds for TBI survivors to receive therapy ever since. Tell us about the idea of creating such a beautiful thing as the nonprofit and some of the wonderful work that happens as a result.
Well, so often when something, either an illness or something negative happens in your life and you see it firsthand and you struggle with it, you gain empathy. I had never had such an ordeal or struggle, and I don't think I could really empathize like I have the ability to now. I have felt the pain. And so I think that it's a natural response. And for us, we had a platform because of my dad's celebrity, because people do know him and care about him. When Larry King asked, would he like to come on Larry King Live right after it happened, maybe 6 weeks or something. And my dad asked if I would like to go on. My initial reaction was, you go on, that would be wonderful. I am an open wound. I don't feel like it's appropriate for me to go on and talk about it. And I paused after I'd already turned it down, and I thought, Ryan would want me to go on and share our faith and share our trust in God in this. And I decided, okay, Daddy, I will go on after all. And it just shared Ryan's story. And I was just so moved by the outpouring of people from all over the world, because that show had viewers in 220 countries, they told me. And we got inundated with emails of people that were concerned and praying for him and giving ideas and suggestions. And of course, I couldn't even read them all, but people were so kind in their outreach to us. And I felt eventually, after a year and a half of all the emergencies, that we had the bandwidth to think about, what can we do with all this goodwill from people, all the prayers, all the goodwill. And it felt like the right thing to do is to take that platform and turn it for something that could benefit others going through what we just have been going through. And so we started to have fundraisers and talk about it, knowing that Pat Boone's name brought awareness to this very overlooked part of society. People with brain injuries are usually adults and don't get quite the attention that childhood illness does, which is all very important. Somebody asked me, why should somebody give to your cause as opposed to something else? And they asked it very honestly. And I said, well, I think it just matters that you give in an area that has touched your life. Do you know somebody with a brain injury? Do you know somebody that's had a stroke? Have you ever known anybody that's had to start and learn all over again to do what we do every day and take for granted? Those are the people that I think are going to be moved to want to give, and the people who love them. So you might not be going through it yourself, but you know somebody that has gone through it. And I just think that that's what you do. You reach out to help those that don't have that platform.
Which is absolutely so touching and so beautiful. And as a result of all of this love and this commitment, the charity has opened up 2 homes to provide care exclusively for brain injury survivors, and even recently launched TBI Talk, a podcast for insights into brain injury recovery. And it offers another resource for those who have loved ones in the same situation or may want to hear the stories of others and families going through a similar journey. That's a beautiful result of all of this effort, Lindy.
It really is part of my healing. You psychologically take such a hit when your life changes so radically and somebody that you love is different and hurt and needs help. He has to have caregiving all the time, but we've reached a new normal, and now I'm free because he got a settlement and he has caregivers. I'm free. My time is free to do something that helps other people with TBI. I care as much about the survivors, but I also care for their families. Being a mom, I relate so much to the moms and the dads and the spouses of people with TBI. And so I feel privileged that we were able to start something. And I feel like God tapped us and said, you are equipped to do this, because I'm the daughter of a celebrity. So there is that platform. My husband's a lawyer and a businessman who really helped us figure out how to start a nonprofit and do it right. And Ryan's dad works in the nonprofit world. So we all brought something to the table that could get this done. And I believe God worked it out so that Ryan has everything he needs. We don't raise money for him. He's well taken care of. He's come back a long way because of all the therapies and a lot of, the prayer and everything that's he's been able to take advantage of. So we've all been able to pour 20 plus years into Ryan's reach. And as a result, I hope we've helped a lot of people in our circumstances that don't have all those benefits.
It's so beautiful. It really is. And, you have worked in health and wellness yourself and the fitness industry as a group fitness instructor, personal trainer for 25 years. Some people might not know that if they know just from the music. Tell us about when you decided to do that. And that's such a wonderful thing. I would imagine that some of that expertise and background you were able to also call upon in certain ways to help Ryan through.
Absolutely. Again, I look back and see just the fingerprints of God through everything that we've been through. And there was a time I just worked out all my life because my dad set that example. I always tease him because he was always late for dinner because he was at the gym, and that irked my mom. But I knew that he really valued his exercise. He was very consistent, always, doing the weights, machines, and jogging. And when I was about 12, I started to jog with him. And I just carried on with that into exercise classes and going to the gym. And eventually, I think I was already 30 years old when it occurred to me, I didn't know I could teach the classes. I don't know why. I was busy with other things. But when I got asked to teach a group for free, all of a sudden I realized, oh, you can get certified to do this. And I loved it. It was like I was used to singing with my sisters and performing on stage and learning choreography and having a microphone and moving to music. And I wasn't doing that anymore. So when they gave me a headset, so I had a microphone and I could choose the music and I could choose the movements and be up in front of people, that was a no-brainer. I was like, oh, this is what I'm meant to do now. So I taught a lot of classes. I did get certified as a personal trainer and I had clients, but I honestly liked the group exercise and did a lot more of that. I don't do it anymore. I kind of took COVID as my sayonara moment to say, okay, I'm going to let the younger people do all this, but I still go. And take classes. I'm very committed to the daily workout. It changes from day to day, from hot yoga to going to the gym and taking a class or riding a long bike ride. I have to do something to move my body at least 5-6 days a week. And I'm committed to that as an exerciser. But I do believe one of the things, I felt this weird compulsion in my 30s to run a marathon. And I just had to experience it. So I joined a running group and I learned how to train for a marathon. And I finally did a half marathon. And a year later, I did a marathon. And one was enough, but there was something about the experience of endurance that I carried into what I went through with Ryan. I'm a long distance endurance person. And so I'm not a sprinter. But I can go for a long time. And I really think I carried some of that into dealing with Ryan. And also just knowing about the body. I had to learn a lot of things just in general about how the body works. And I think that that's helped me to look at Ryan and know how to pursue his therapies and his recovery.
For those that have never had the pleasure of meeting Ryan, how would you describe Ryan?
Well, he was my first. I always teased my dad because he wanted a boy in the worst way. He and my mom were shooting for a son and got 4 daughters. And so I got married and had my first baby and had a boy right off the bat and teased him about that wasn't so hard. So he was special. He was unique and special as the first grandchild, but also being a boy. And he just had an unbelievable dearness to his nature. And I have 3 kids and I love them all. But Ryan, as a little boy, just had a sweetness that touched my heart, still does. He was always a leader. When he got into 6th grade, he wanted to be student body president and won. And when he was in 8th grade, he wanted to be student body president and won. And then in high school, he played basketball and became captain of the basketball team and MVP. And then in college, he was president of his fraternity. So that was him. He wanted to lead. And he had this wonderful leadership capacity. He was 6'4", first of all. He was a tall guy and a big personality and a booming voice. Good looking guy, really.
Sounds like his grandfather.
He outgrew his grandfather. He outgrew his dad. And I was always looking up at him. And it was kind of a nice feeling when you have a son that outgrows you and you go, now you can take care of me. I've taken care of you. You can take care of me. But he was just a dear. He had so many friends. Just he liked everybody, and he didn't have any enemies. And I worried about him in that he would just do anything for anybody. And I thought, I wonder if he will find his worth. You know, is he gonna work and make a living, or is he just gonna offer to do all these things for people? But he was on a path to write and direct. That's what he wanted to do. He went to Pepperdine University and he wanted to write for television and movies. He'd written one screenplay before his accident, and he'd gotten engaged. So by the time his accident happened, he was 6 months away from getting married. The wedding had all been planned. And so he was looking forward to his own family and to being a writer, but he also was a very deeply committed Christian. And he felt like his life was going to be about telling stories through movies and television that would edify and make people want to be better. So I looked forward to that. And that did get interrupted, but I think he's living his own inspirational story.
That's so beautiful. And to be able to do that and share it. And again, there is this network of love and commitment and support within the foundation of the family that is so important. And it's a message to share with others the importance of that support system, having that support system. So when there are times that are a little crazy, rough, unpredictable, and all the beautiful and joyous times, you're able to celebrate and cherish and lift one another up as your family has been able to do for one another. I mean, you've done it for everybody else through all the music and the entertainment, but then doing it for one another is so important, right?
Absolutely. My sisters and I are still so close. And I often have said one of the gifts out of COVID was that everybody learned how to do Zoom calls. And we started a Friday morning Zoom call that we look forward to every week. And we stay so much more up on each other's lives because of this technology. And we share each other's good news and we share each other's heartaches. And that's just going to continue because we are certainly, somebody just referred to my sisters as my trusted therapists. And I thought, absolutely, they've saved me a lot of money.
All the way back from childhood. Matter of fact,
but also, for sure. But also, I don't want to neglect my parents because during Ryan's accident, oh my gosh, my mother was the first one on the scene because Ryan was taken to UCLA Medical Center and my parents live in Beverly Hills. My mom was reached and she was there in 5 minutes. And she actually saw the paramedics coming out and somehow she knew that they had brought Ryan to the ER. And she said, "That's my grandson. How is he?" And they said, "Don't get your hopes up." So my mom just kind of rejected that and went and set up camp in the UCLA waiting room and just sat there with her faith. And she didn't let those words permeate her consciousness. And I, on the other hand, was in Spain at this time. And my sister Debby had to track us down and call up my husband and I and say that Ryan had had this accident. And we made our way home. But in those 24 hours, it was just agony. I was just so glad my mother was there. And she was in prayer, a woman of prayer, and also a woman of faith.
Yeah.
And she just repeated, when I talk about words, she was hearing the words of scripture saying, "He will live and not die and declare the glory of God." That's what she was laying down.
Yeah.
So when I sing about Wordlayer, that's kind of what I'm talking about. What are you going to let permeate? My sister Debby sent me a wonderful quote, and I haven't been able to find it, but the gist of it was, hope and despair kind of live in the same dimension. What are we going to give our energy to? Are we going to imagine the hope? Are we going to imagine the despair? Because what's out in front of you, you don't know. And you can just worry yourself sick about what could happen. Or you could just focus in on the good stuff that might happen. So that was the practice. But this quote, I wish I could find it because it was said so much more eloquently. But I hold that so dear that Debby journaled a lot, and she would share her journals with me. Her journal entries. And so much of it was because she was always feeding her soul. She was able to share it with me, the things that helped me through. And each of my sisters did that at various times.
That's so beautiful. Again, it all comes back to that family and faith and the importance of it all. It's such a beautiful message, and one that we need to hear now more than ever, about coming together and supporting one another and loving one another. We're running short on some of that in our daily lives. Your dad and I talked about that when he was on with us. And, it's, and through the entertainment and the art and the music, you're doing that as well. I mean, you guys, back in the 70s, you and your sisters, you recorded pop covers and several Christian albums as the Boone Girls, including the Grammy Award nominated album First Class. And of course, your wonderful sister Debby went on to become a solo artist, hitting the top of the US charts with, and it's such a beautiful and appropriate song for this conversation, You Light Up My Life, winning 3 Grammys through her music career and nominated 10 times as well. There is this foundation of faith and family and understanding the human condition that I think permeates. I think your parents set the tone and lived it. And as they were raising you, the house had that, with all the busyness and everything that was happening. Still, there was the grounding and the love that I think set that tone. And then you guys, the daughters, carry that through as well, which I think is so important. And the parents really do, and grandparents set the tone.
Well, definitely. I mean, we were on just automatic every Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday nights. We went to church as a family, but we lived it. It wasn't just church time. It was our daily lives. It was very much a part of what mattered most. And I think that's what they did the best. Is we lived in an area, Beverly Hills, very prone to being superficial and being materialistic. We went to, private school and were in the entertainment business. And it would have been very easy to get priorities out of whack. And what I think my parents did so well and heroically, because I can't imagine how hard it was for them in that environment to keep us grounded. And we all I think are pretty aware of what's important in life, and it's not the stuff. It's not the fame, and it's not the accolades. It's really the relationships and the impact that you can have to help another person.
What was it like? And that's beautifully said, with everybody together and the time spent in the studio. I mean, writing and recording and getting this, down and out for all of us. That must have been really terrific. And are you going to be back in the studio? Are you going to record more for all of us?
That is something I get asked a lot these days. I have written Wordlayer, and since then people say, you should write a song about this. You should write a song
Yeah.
about that.
They're giving
And,
you their wish list.
and I have written a few other things since then, and but they're coming from my personal life. And I wrote a little lullaby for my grandson. I'm such a happy grandmother, and he's 2.5.
What's
And
his
my
name?
husband, his name is Bryce, and he's a little redhead with
Hey,
blue eyes.
Bryce.
Yeah, yeah. And so my husband told me, you should write a song about your relationship. And I laughed at my husband, like, you think I can write songs about anything? But then this title came to me, and the words started coming to me, and the melody came to me. And I love this little lullaby. It's a grandparent's love for a grandchild. So it's a possibility that we could go back into the studio and do that. I wrote a song for my husband last year for his birthday that he is delighted by. And I've written a song to God that is I thought, just for me and for God. But I also shared it with a few people, and they were tearing up. And I'm thinking, well, maybe it's not just for me. So we'll see. That's the answer. I don't know, but I'm open.
That's beautiful. You've talked about some of it, but what are some of the additional blessings and joys in your life that still carry you through to want to do all these wonderful things that you do that help others get motivated, feel good about themselves, lift others up, help them heal, help them be healthy and well through fitness, but then also provide the beautiful lyrics and melodies in this incredible song? Where do you pull from? Is it the faith, the family, God, other things that just sustain you? Because obviously resilience is something else that comes to mind when I think of you and the family, Linda.
Well, I do think that in some ways I take after my mother, in other ways I take after my father. I look more like my mother than I think the other girls, but I have my dad's temperament. And of course, I assimilate from both of them, and then also my own life experience. So they instilled a lot in me. My dad's steadiness, I think I inherited coping skills to be able to carry this for the long term. I don't know if it's my personality. I do know that without faith, I would have crumbled. I don't know how people go through situations like this if they don't have a broader view of this life isn't all there is. So my faith has sustained me, but my spiritual life has grown deeper. It's one thing to be raised in a faith, and then it eventually becomes yours. And then when it is challenged by something this horrific, you ask all the questions. Why do I have to feel this pain? Why am I being allowed to go through this? But there is something transformative about reaching the end of your own abilities and being at a point of complete surrender. And I had a friend who shared with me a phrase. I don't think it's new. I think it's been around a long time, but I hadn't heard it before. What you resist persists. And I just started to surrender to what I was going through, stop fighting it and asking God, what am I supposed to learn through it? And I think that really is a critical thing that you come to when you have no idea where to turn. You have Pastor Rick Warren would often say, you'll never know that God is all you need until God is all you have. So being around people that would give me these little sound bites, that's helped me to draw from that. But I've just assimilated more of my own personal, deep spiritual connection, my own awareness that God is with me with every breath that I take. And I'm trying to just respond to every moment. When I'm talking to you, I'm trying to be here, present, hearing you and answering you. And just seeing how I can be a conduit for the things that God has brought me through and help others to experience that, because life does return. That's one of the lines in my song, that look at nature, how she cycles death to life. That's
Yeah,
our model. Life
that's right.
returns.
That's right.
So I want people to
It's
have that hope.
it's such a beautiful thing, Lindy, and you are a beautiful person, and it's a beautiful song. You have a beautiful voice. You have a beautiful way about you, and such an honor and a pleasure. I know you have to scoot off for more coming up, but come back and see us again. As I said to your dad, we will keep the porch light on for you. I wish you nothing but continued blessing and joy in your life. And congratulations again on this wonderful, wonderful song, beautiful story behind it. And thank you for being so real and open and authentic and sharing it, because you touch the lives of others through the music, but through the stories. And I truly feel blessed that you were here, and say hi to your dad and the family for me. And
Okay, I will.
I really hope that you'll come see us again and you enjoyed the time with me as much as I absolutely have with you.
Certainly I did. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very, very welcome. And the music can be on iTunes, Spotify, and
All the
everywhere.
streaming, all the streaming platforms. Yes. YouTube.
YouTube as well. Lindy, thank you so much for all of the time, and you enjoy the rest of your day and come see us again. It was a blessing.
Thank you, Jim.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Lindy Boone here on the Jim Masters Show, entertainment, lifestyle, celebrity talk show series. Is she not special? Is she not somebody amazing, touching the lives of so many people? And what a moving and empowering story. It really is incredible. And I just think the fact that she's so open about her life and sharing the story regarding her son is very impactful. And the music, again, this is a very, very special project. And we want to show you the album again. And you can go to all the streaming services and you can download it. Wordlayer. This is a really beautiful thing. And a lot behind this. And I just think it's something you need to hear. So make sure you get it. And as I said earlier, it was a family affair in the studio. There's Pat and the sisters all together making the magic, as the family has done for so many years. And yeah, we hope to hear more music from Lindy. A little teaser there when I asked her that question. That would be really fantastic. You know, everybody watching is agreeing that more from Lindy would be fantastic. This was really something special. And I just want to let you know as well, we mentioned this, ryansreach.com is the charity. I encourage you to check that out. And if you can support, by all means, you guys know I believe in causes and charities that make a difference and inspire us all. And that is a very, very special one created by the Boone family. And make sure you check that out. Check out the music, check that out, and come see us again as well. I'm your host, Jim Masters, thanking you for your time this time. Till next time, if this was your first time here, welcome to the Jim Masters Show, entertainment, lifestyle, celebrity talk show series, where we're bringing back the lost art of conversation. If you enjoyed this episode, on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, where we archive all these episodes, hundreds of episodes with celebrity guests and friends, give this episode a like, share the episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, and leave a comment for us. If you were touched by this conversation, if you were moved by the conversation with my special guest, Lindy Boone, joining us here. She's amazing. And also very involved in the world of health and wellness as well. And again, if you didn't get a chance to see the episode when her dad, the incomparable Pat Boone, was with us, check that out. That was a phenomenal conversation as well. And for those of you who watched that episode, yes, he was able to get to the kennel in time to get his lovely dog and bring the dog back home. That worked out perfectly. Gang, thanks for being with us. I'm your host, Jim Masters. Thank you for your time this time till next time. As we always say, don't forget to love one another, take care of one another, and don't forget to love yourself. And come back and see us again. More great guests and more entertainment right here for you on the Jim Masters Show series. We love you all. Take care and be well. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.